Welcome everybody to this new video, Monopoly chapter 15, Gregory Mankiw, Principle of Economics, 7th edition. So basically, uh, when we think about monopoly, uh, m- actually it's like kind of a common word that we can think when we talk with another person. And immediately, if we think about kind of examples, we can go immediately. So, for example, Microsoft. So it's kind of a monopoly because actually you can verify that once in a moment in a period of time this was the unique provider, or at least the most representative provider of operative system. So definitely monopoly could be considered someone just one producer in a large market. So actually in the previous chapter, in the chapter 14, we actually noticed that there was a lower power market of the firms. We see a huge amount of companies, of enterprises, that they compete in the same scenario with the other ones in the same conditions, and they didn't have any incidence in the price. Is what we called before the price takers. The idea is like a monopolist does not have close competitors. So it comes from the idea of price taker, which was in the competitive market, to price maker. Then remember from the previous chapter that for a company inside in a competitive market, the price was equal to marginal cost. So this is the concept for perfect competition. But here, remember that a monopolist, they have a power in the market. So this power provides to these companies to charge more than the marginal cost. So then there's going to be a difference between that. It's not going to be as before, price equal to marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. It was a competitive situation, perfect competitive situation. Here we are in a situation where the marginal cost is effectively equal to the marginal revenue but different to the price. Then the monopoly, as the previous situation, they aim to maximize profit. So the idea is like in a competitive market, obviously there were self-interested consumers and producers, and they reach an equilibrium that at the end of the day that promotes a general economic well-being. And how we can identify that it was like a maximization of that basically goes through the consumer and producer surplus. So you can notice how the consumer, they have the maximum possible throughout the consumer surplus, and analogously the producers, they have the same part. Then in the outcome of monopoly, well, is often not is the best interest of society. And basically why? Basically because when you have in the market a higher price, it immediately implies that the consumers, they need to pay more. So because of they need to pay more, the quantities inside the market, they will be definitely lower than the quantity and the competitive market. So then the consumer surplus is going to be less, and maybe the increase in producer surplus compared with the competitive market, it doesn't compensate the reduction of the quantities. Then um, it's here when one of the 10 principles of economics, it takes relevance. Basically because the government could take a role here in this market as a player in order to move the figures. When they move the figures, maybe the outcome could be like a little bit better, the welfare in the total society with the monopoly. So basically the question now that we have is why a monopoly or why monopolies arise. Basically, the idea is like a firm is a monopoly. Basically, as we said before, it is the sole seller of its product, and if its product doesn't have close substitutes. So this is the main idea. This is the when a monopoly arises. Maybe because it's such a market that maybe it's kind of totally new, that there is no another market that can provide that. So here, because there is just one producer, there are different possible parts why this one there are like there is a monopoly, as a matter of fact, and one of them is the barrier to entry. Okay, it means like maybe you cannot go there, okay, because some company, this company has a patent or something in order to produce that idea for 2 3 years exclusively. Then no one can enter there, so this is a barrier to entry. Even if you want, if you have the money, you cannot go inside to this market. So when other firms cannot enter the market, maybe it could be devoted because of monopoly resources. So basically, for example, a key resource required for production is owned by a single firm. So it doesn't matter you want to go into the market, you cannot get access to this input. It's kind of hard to find that, but actually there is kind of example of diamonds in South Africa. So the mine there is just it just belong to one firm. This firm has the right to exploit this mine. It doesn't matter if you can go inside to this market because you cannot get access to this source, which is a monopoly from the very beginning, just the access to the resources. Maybe another situation of where there are barriers to entry, we can think about the government regulation. So the idea is like it gives a single firm the exclusive right to produce some good of service. So government says, okay, you're going to be the only water supply in town. So it is a law, you cannot go inside. This is something that is already provided by the government. Or maybe just about the production process. So maybe a single firm can produce output at a lower cost than a larger number of firms. So it could be the case of even could be the case we can think about a water supply as well. Imagine all the pipes that they are buried on the ground. So it could be no logic that there are another companies and each they put all the pipe on the ground. So it could be possible. It's better to have just one producer. Then, if we think about monopoly resources, as we said before, just one firm owns the key resource. So, for example, imagine that there is just one well in town. So it doesn't matter that you can or you want to get into the market because there is just one well, so that's impossible. So there, at that time, when we can think about it, the monopolies has much greater market power. So actually, there are not too many monopolies for this reason because there are a bunch of resources around the world, at least until now, still. So for this reason, maybe it's not like really clear that. The other one, as we said, the government created monopolies. So, for example, that time, as we said, the government provides just the right to one firm or person to produce that good or service. So, for example, when we think about um, kind of the centuries before, maybe we think about the kings, they granted exclusive business licenses, the friend and ally. So you say, okay, you're going to run this kind of good. Maybe you're the unique person that can import this good. So you by then you are going to be just the one person to provide that to the country, and you will be a monopoly. So this one is because it was provided by the kings. So, for example, the idea is like, for example, in order to generate ideas, so government need to incentivize that. So maybe if there is music, so for example, but if you create a nice music, but then the other day someone copy and sell that and just record that, and this person is going to take profit for that. Maybe musicians they don't have like really good incentives in order to create music. So for this reason, the government needs to provide something to kind of defend them. So the idea could be like copyright. Okay, so for example, with copyright laws, you can guarantee the musician they can create music and they are going to receive the profits for that. So or maybe you can think a patent. Without patents, a lot of things that we have right now in the world they wouldn't be created. So basically, that is because the government provides something, the exclusivity to produce something during a period of time in order to in order to encourage in some way the innovation. So this one is like as said before. So, for example, we think about medicine. For example, the government provides the exclusive right to manufacture a set of product for a certain period of time. For example, pharmaceutical firms. So, with copyright, the government guarantees that no one, for example, can print and sell the work without the author's permission. So, the copyright makes a monopolist. Then, obviously, it will provide higher prices, allowing these monopoly producers to charge higher prices and earn higher profits. But they guarantee at the same time that new products and new kind of services you can people have access for that. So then, definitely it encourages research and authors write better books. Musicians produce better music. Uh, pharmaceutical firms they produce better products, better medicine. Then we're going to talk about particular monopoly. A particular monopoly is a natural monopoly. So, for example, is this the idea when a single firm can supply a good or service to an entire market at a lower cost than two or more firms? So it means that it's better just one in the market, even if we have more firms. And why? The idea is that we are talking about economies of scale. So remember, the economies of scale is when we are talking about the average total cost is just the decreasing part. So this is this economies of scale. When we face this economies of scale, we are in the increasing part of the average total cost. So remember, natural monopoly, it implies immediately average total cost decreasing. So this is over a relevant range of output. So here is the image. And why this can surprise you. Here we have the cost of the y-axis, in the x we have the quantity of output, and basically this is decreasing for like over a relevant range of output, different from the other curves that we face U-shaped average total cost. So this is the main difference. It's just like decreasing, it decreases all the time. Then we can think about distribution of water. So imagine it is necessary the construction of pipes throughout the town. So it doesn't make any sense if we have more than one company and you have a bunch of pipes in the ground. Then the idea is like just like more firms, they should make a huge investment, then high fixed cost. Okay, so then it's going to be a really important barrier to entry in the market. So here is an example in order to understand maybe natural monopoly. So for example, if you have a bridge with a toll, then you can think that it's excludable and no not rival. Basically, what is the point of that? is because it's excludable, because you need to pay a toll, right? If you don't pay, you cannot use it. This is the main of excludable. And this one, non-rival, is because the part that you're using that bridge, it doesn't mean that the other person cannot use at the same time. Obviously, these have like a determined quantity, because if there is a lot of cars that they are going through the bridge, definitely it's not going to be easy to go at the same time to this bridge. So for this reason, we can consider not rival. So here, the average total cost is decreasing. Why? Because at that time you already have the bridge, and because it's not rival, the time that you go another car there, okay, and you divide it by the total cost with the time that you increase the number of cars crossing the bridge, the average total cost will decrease. You don't need to do anything, absolutely anything, when there are more cars. The bridge is already there. You just need to charge for the toll. So this could be considered in a small town where there aren't another when there is like there is no possibility for another bridge. So definitely it's a natural monopoly. So even with high profits, fixed costs make them unattractive, because it's so you have a lot of costs just to enter, so maybe it's not okay to go into the market. Then, how monopolies make production and pricing decisions. So first, in order to clarify, we go to the main differences between monopoly versus competition. So here we have the left part, monopoly, and the right part, competitive market. So basically, you need to be really confident with that. The first thing is like monopoly has the influence to change the price in the market. Competitive, they don't. Okay, let me see here. Competitive market, each firm is too small to influence the market price. The other important thing is like the demand of a firm is the same demand of the market. And how come? Since there is no other competitors, the demand that you face is going to be exactly the demand of the market. In the other side, we have the competitive market. If you remember, the price is established a horizontal line, because it doesn't matter how much is going to be your production, your price that you will receive is going to be exactly the same. And basically because you're a price taker, then if you the price, for example, of 1 liter of milk, it costs $1. If you charge more than this $1, no one is going to buy. And it doesn't make any sense to charge to 80 cents, because you can sell that to $1. So for this reason, the price is established at horizontal line, and the firm can sell as much or as little as that price. So for this reason, horizontal demand. The other part, by law of demand, it is downward shaped. Okay, so it means like higher prices, you will sell less, lower prices, you will sell more. Then the other one, remember, we have a curve perfectly elastic, because there is a multiple substitutes. If you don't offer, if you charge a higher price, no one is going to buy you. Okay, so this is perfectly elastic. And then the other one, it cannot produce as much as they want, because they are not going to sell anything if they charge a really high price. And the other one, remember that you can produce whatever they want, just they will sell at the same level price. Okay, then here we have the first figure. We have here the price and the y-axis, and we have the quantity output. So this is the competitor firm's demand curve. So this one should be here in the right, and this one should be in the left. So here, for the monopoly, So the price is downward shape. Uh, and this is because they have a power in the market, so they can change the prices. Then here we have the like kind of summary of the situation with numbers. So here we have water, okay, at that time of water supply. Here we have the quantity produced and sold from 0 to 8 measured in gallons. And here we have the price measured in dollars. Here is the first difference. If you just visualize that and they ask you, is this a competitive firm? No. Why? Basically because the price. Remember that in the previous chapter, it doesn't matter the quantity, the price was exactly the same. Here, as you notice, when the quantity increases, the price decreases. Okay, this is the inverse relationship. So we are talking about here basically the demand. Okay, this is the demand. So basically, if we don't produce, if we have a price of 11, we don't have any incentive, and we are not going to produce any water, any gallon of water. The other one, when we immediately have a lower price, 10, so we say, okay, I'm going to sell just one. And here that's the idea. With the price is really low, so definitely the quantity will be sold more because people will buy more. So that's the idea. With higher prices, no one is going to buy, but with lower price, a lot of people they're going to. So here we have the first one, the total revenue. So remember, total revenue is defined by the price that you charge times the quantity you sell. So here we have 11 times 0, 0, 10 times 1, 10, so on and so forth, here until 8 times 3, 24. Here we have the average revenue. So remember, the average revenue is what is going to be the typical cost of each unit produced. The typical revenue that each unit will represent. So here we have the average revenue is equal to total revenue over Q. So we have total revenue here is going to be 0 over Q0 is not going to be defined, but from here, yes, we have total revenue 10 over 1 is going to be 10, so on and so forth, until here 24 over 8, which is going to be 3. Immediately, you can notice how the price is exactly here as the average revenue. Okay, so here is exactly, and why? Because total revenue is equal to price times Q. So Q you can cancel with Q, and it lies in the average revenue equal to the price. Then we have the marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is going to be which is going to be the additional revenue of one additional unit produced or sold better. So here we have delta total revenue over delta Q. So here we have the first one. We're going to, as the previous chapter, we're going to put this in the middle. So it's going to be total revenue. It's going to be the change, which is going to be 10 minus 0 over Q, which is going to be 1 all the time. So this one, the denominator is going to be just 1. So basically, it's going to be just the change in the average revenue. In the revenue is going to be 10, it's going to be 8, then this one is going to be minus 4. Okay, why this minus 4? It means that if you pass from the 7 to 8 unit, you will receive minus $4. So actually, you can see here you have this one, the total revenue at that time, but when you produce one additional unit, your total revenue, even if it's positive, is going to decrease. So then the monopoly's marginal revenue is always less than the price of the good. So I have a look here. So the marginal revenue, this one, is lower uh, than the price of the good. So why is that so important characteristic? Because here you produce this one to be 10, so they start from the same point. So this one is like the demand. But then when you start with the other one, it's going to be this one 8 when the price is going to be 9, right? Then this one is going to be 6 when the price is going to be 8. So for this reason, the margin revenue is always less than the price of its good. So then margin revenue behaves like that because monopoly faces a downward sloping demand curve. I remember the marginal revenue before was in competitive scenario was exactly the same as the price because you sell like one unit additional unit and you charge as with the same price. So this is going to be the price equal to marginal revenue. But in this case, due to you have this downward demand, when you receive that is going to be less than the price. So this one, for example, you have like 24, okay, then the next one you will receive if you charge a price of 7, a lower price, you will receive 8, 4, right? Additional revenue. But this one, at that time, the price was 7. So this one is going to be lower. Then, when a monopoly increases the amount it sells, it has two effects. So they increases here the amount they sell. Basically, it has two effects. So first, we can think about the output effect. So this is what? This is like more output sold, Q is higher, and it tends to increase total revenue. And we can see here, this is an output effect when the total revenue increases, right? Then we have the other part, which is price effect. The price falls, P is lower, so it tends to decrease the total revenue. So this one is like the price effect. Because the price is lower, they tend to decrease the total revenue. So we are, for example, here. So the price falls, so even the quantity increases, at that time this is total revenue. So here we are in the price effect, and here we are in the output effect. Then here we're going to graph the previous table. So remember, they start together from 11, and then they start to change. This one, remember, this is all the time in the middle of this one. Okay. So then, sorry, this is the middle of this one. So here we have the marginal revenue, which is lower than the demand, and even here is like negative. So here and here is the demand of these monopolies. Then a competitive firm sells all its producer. They do not have price effect. What does it mean? Basically, it means that the competitive firm, they don't have any change in the price effect because as all the time the total revenue is going to be exactly as the price. So then it doesn't matter if you sell 1 unit or you sell 100 unit, your price is going to be exactly the same. But here is different because if you charge the output effect, you have like more quantities, so you will have more total revenue, but maybe you will have the price effect because you will charge maybe it's going to be a lower price, your total revenue is going to decrease as this part from the unit, this one from the 6th unit. So then when the monopoly increases the production in 1 unit, the price is smaller, then the marginal revenue is lower than the price. Okay, then the demand and the marginal revenue start at the same point. We can visualize here because the marginal revenue at the first unit is the same as the price. Okay, so this one is okay. They are all both are the same. So the marginal revenue is negative when the price effect on revenue is greater than the output effect, because remember, the price that you're charging is lower and is not compensated by the quantities additional that you are selling. So then the idea, like we recall one of the principles of economics. People think at the margin. is the same as we thought before, because previously we thought about the price is equal to marginal cost, and here we are thinking about the margin cost exactly the same as the marginal revenue. And actually both decisions, they were the same, or they are the same, from competitive market and monopolies. So the idea is like the maximization is determined by the intersection if the marginal revenue is exactly equal to marginal cost. So here both are the curves that we already represented, the demand, marginal revenue, that they are totally different from a competitive market, because the demand is going to be like this one, exactly the marginal revenue. Here we are in the other situation, that word shaped situation. And here, this is the trick. Here we have the average total cost as usual, kind of U-shaped. This one that we have here is the marginal cost. Remember the characteristic marginal cost, that it cuts the minimum point of the average total cost. And then when the marginal cost is exactly the same as the marginal revenue, then this is going to be the maximum that you are going to produce. And this is not going to be your price. Why? Because at this quantity, the demand will be the point B. So this one is the monopoly price, and this one is going to be the quantity. So remember, all the time, you first identify marginal revenue, then identify marginal cost. When the intersection, you make dot here. This spot is going to determine the quantity, and this same quantity is going to determine the price. Okay, this one is going to be the price. So here we are. This is the main idea of that. And actually we're going to see ahead how does it work, and why it's going to be this point and not this point and not this point. So here we are. Imagine that we are thinking about this point. So the quantity one, what does it represent? Basically, it represents like this one is going to be your marginal cost, and this one is going to be your marginal revenue. It means that by this quantity one, you still have a lot of benefits for this one. So you can still produce more. So from the next one, if all the time that you have marginal revenue higher than the marginal cost, it means that this additional unit is still making profits to you. But if you are in Q2, where the marginal revenue is lower than the marginal cost, here is going to be cost prime. Basically, the cost of this additional unit that you are producing is larger than your revenue. So it doesn't make any sense that you produce in quantity 2. So for this reason, this is going to be in this one. The maximum is going to be in A. So then, competitive firm, we have price equal marginal revenue equal marginal cost. Here we have monopoly firm. The price, naturally, is higher to the marginal, because this one is not the price. It's going to be this one. So price is going to be larger than the marginal revenue, and marginal revenue is going to be equal to marginal cost. Then, the profits of monopoly, they come from the same idea. So we have total revenue, not total cost, sorry, total revenue minus total cost. Then we can divide both by Q, but at the same time we can multiply by Q, so we are not making any difference here. Then we have total revenue definition is going to be price times Q over Q, and total cost over Q is going to be average total cost, and Q, it remains the same. Then Q over Q you can cancel out, and then you can be here. So remember, the idea of the competitive market is like the price exactly to average total cost, which immediately you arrive to a result of zero benefits, at least in the long run. Here, because the price is higher to the average total cost, this one is going to be the benefit. So this also the competitive firm, but difference is going to be that this difference is going to be zero in competitive firms, but in monopoly it's going to be higher than zero. So this is going to be the difference. So here we have the cost and revenue. So here we have the quantity, we have the demand, the monopoly they face, and here we have the marginal revenue, which is usually This is like is lower than the demand. So automatically when you have this one, you can think about a monopoly. Here we have the marginal cost, and here we have the average total cost. So then, which is going to be the quantity that this monopoly is going to choose? Basically, it's going to be this point where the marginal cost is exactly the same as marginal revenue. Then there's going to be quantity max that maximizes the profits, and this was going to be the price charged by the monopolist. Then here is going to be the average total cost. Then price minus ATC is going to be this high, and the weight is going to be the quantity max. It's going to be the quantity. So this one square is this one. So those are the profits of this firm, that they are huge because they have all this stuff where the this one, the margin cost equal to margin revenue, and this one is going to be the profits of a monopoly. Then we are going to move through the welfare cost of monopolies. Actually, as we said before, the competitive firm is like the ideal situation for the welfare of a society, because basically the consumers surplus from both sides, consumer and producers, is the maximum possible. So here, if we think about the standpoint of consumers, this high pricing is undesirable because you need to pay more. So no one wants to do that. But from the producer side, higher profit is real desirable. So you have two forces, one party that is better, one other one that is worse. So then think about the concept chapter 7. So this is about welfare. So this is basically the sum of total surplus, which it comes from the producers and consumers. Then here, remember about the invisible hand, the concept that Adam Smith developed in the 18th century, where basically says don't touch the market at all, make that all forces interact between them, and definitely you will arrive to an efficient and one point that maximizes the welfare and the from the parties of the market, that time consumers and producers. So this one, uh, we can think that invisible hand is not only natural outcome but also a desirable one. And then the monopoly leads to allocation of resources different from that in a competitive market. So the outcome in some way failed to maximize total economic well-being because the quantity desired is lower and because the price is higher. Basically, that's old story. So then, if that's the case, we can think about there is a deadweight loss. What's that? Remember, the deadweight loss is like part of the surplus that it was before it belongs to one party, maybe consumers or producers, but due to a change, it doesn't belong to anyone more. So it should be the case of a monopoly. Because if you are going to charge a higher price and you are going to produce less quantities, there are going to be several transactions, several consumers that they are not going to pay for that. Because before they did, because the price was lower, but now due to the price is higher, the consumers, they are not going to buy that. So this one is going to be part of the deadweight loss. So then the idea is like we can imagine that monopoly firm is run. Imagine that there is a benevolent social planner, so someone that is going to do the best possible for the society. So it takes into account not only profit side but also the consumers help us. So here we can think the demand as the willingness to pay. So just when you have a higher price and we have lower quantities, definitely there are people that they don't have the same willingness to pay to that price, so they are not going to buy. Then here is the idea. So here we have marginal cost, okay? We can think this one, remember, as the supply, and this one is going to be as the demand. So here, it's going to be the efficient one, right? When this one is exactly the same. Supply exactly the same as demand. But remember, This one is the time where price is equal to marginal cost as the time of the competitive firms, but here is the situation monopoly. Because the cost of monopoly of monopolies is lower than the value to buyers. So this is an imbalance because the buyers they have to pay like for this difference. The costs are kind of divided. And here we are in the other part of the other side of the coin where the cost of monopolist is going to be higher to this one because the price is going to be lower than that. So those like forces they are not equilibrated, so they're like fighting over here until they arrive to this point. So this one is the efficient one. But every time the result is not efficient, so this one we are in this side, they're going to be the creation of the deadweight laws. Then we will say that which is the social cost. So then the idea is like the quantity is inefficiently low and the price is higher, as we said before. So then the monopoly prevents from social mutually beneficial trades because they're going to generate still profits in some way, and some consumers they still can consume that. So then inefficiency we can be measured with the deadweight loss. The higher, the worse. Then we can think about a similar impact of a tax, just with a difference, which is going to be the party that is going to collect the tax. It's going to be the government, right? In this time, at that time, or this time, the monopolies is going to be who is going to collect that. But this one, the collection is not going to be naturally taxes. This is going to be called profits. Then here is the deadweight loss. Why? Here is the situation. Here is the situation of competitive market. Lower price than monopoly price and higher than the monopoly quantity. So due to this distortion, what we are creating here is this one, this triangle, because it was before part of the consumers and part of the producers, but now due to this change is going to be lost. No one is going to take it anymore. Then this is kind of a social cost. So the idea, like even when there is a market power, we cannot like immediately say, okay, this is a problem of society. We cannot say it, we cannot declare that because we can think about that. From one side, each odd dollar charged is transferred from consumer surplus to producer side in some way. So the idea, the problem here is like this one, maybe the money is not going to be saved by the consumer, just is going to be paid for the monopolies. The problem are this inefficient quantity produced because they were like kind of tradable or kind of transaction that they aren't going to be anymore. So this is the main problem, the inefficient quantity. So it could be the case that maybe a monopoly should pay for lobbyists to maintain the market power. It could be the case that maybe deadweight laws includes this kind of cost. So maybe sometimes if for example the monopoly need to pay for a stay in the market to kind of have still that possibility, maybe it could be even the lobby they need to pay for that, so it's going to be represented this kind of deadweight laws in order to keep the control of the market. So here is a concept where maybe the deadweight loss is not going to exist anymore. So remember, we are talking about first differences between competitive market and monopoly, right? Then we move to the maximization, which is different from competitive market because they have like price higher to the marginal revenue. And then we automatically identify that even the producers they are better, consumer are worse, and the total welfare is going to be worse because the sum of a consumer surplus plus producer surplus is lower than in the competitive world. So for this reason, we have this new concept. This new concept, price discrimination, at the end of the day, it's trying to capture these deadweight laws. Okay, try to disappear that and to make as a total welfare at least as the same as a competitive market. So here, um, we saw before that the monopolies they charge the same price to all people. Okay, it doesn't matter if you have money, if you don't, but you need to pay the same for that good of service. So the price discrimination exists when you sell the same product with different prices to different consumers. So maybe uh, this is really important. The price discrimination is not possible at all in a competitive market because many firms sell the good in the market. So then it's necessary some market power. If I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to charge to this group different price, it doesn't have any, it doesn't make any sense because another producer is going to sell to them at the same price. So you cannot discriminate. You cannot have any market power. So remember, without market power, you cannot discriminate. People go to another place. Then we can think about a parable about pricing. So imagine, in order to understand better this price discrimination, how it works, we can think about a publishing company. So remember, have a look that, for example, an author receives a flat 2 million for the exclusive right to publish the book. So this is the money that this person received. But take into account that we are assuming that the printing cost is zero. Okay, so it doesn't make like any additional cost if you need to sell another book because it's going to be maybe an ebook, so you just like provide the license password or whatever. So here the profits of the publishing company is basically the revenue, so the quantity of the books times the price that they are going to charge and minus the flat payment that they need to pay for the exclusive right to publish the book. Then the idea here, or the question that we need to figure out, is about how to decide the price the good. So then first you need to estimate the demand of the book. So imagine that the marketing department decides that this book will attract two types of readers. So we're going to sell this book to two groups. So here we have 100,000 fans, so they will pay $30 for this one. And we have this one, these 400,000 people that they don't care too much about this book, so they have a willingness to pay of 5. So immediately we visualize here that is a possible discrimination here because you have one of them that they will pay 30, another that they will pay 5. So if you sell at 30, naturally just the fans they will buy that. But if you sell at 5, you will sell not only for the fans but also for the other people. The problem is like fans, they have the willingness to pay for $30, but they will pay 5. So I need to make something that it can differentiate that, and fans will pay 30, and the other one they will pay 5. So here, imagine that there is 30. So with 30, automatically, I'm going to sell 100,000 books, and then we arrive to 3 million, okay, dollars. So the profit is going to be 1 million. So those 400,000 that they will pay $5, they didn't do it because of the higher price. Then imagine that now the price is 5. So if the price is 5, it's going to be 5 times uh, this one 500,000. Why? Because this price is going to be bought by the fans plus the other one. So it's going to be 500,000. So when we arrive to 2.5 million minus the 2 million is going to be 500. So you will say, okay, it's better to charge a $30. What about if I charge 30 to this one, to the funds, and 5 to the other one? Definitely the idea will be different because if the decision of 30 makes people with willingness to pay of 5 out, then the marginal cost, remember, is 0. So here we can say, okay, 5 I can sell to 400,000. It's going to be 2 million. So this is going to be the deadweight loss, right? Because This one with a price of 30, these people, they are out of the market. Okay, so this is the deadweight loss. But maybe I can chart different groups. So then at the end, it should be this 130 to these fans, they will pay more, and 5 to this one, it will be 2. So at the end, it's going to be 5 minus 2 is going to be 3 million. It's going to be definitely more because what's that? Because basically we are capturing them some way the deadweight loss. It just kind of we have already that we have already these profits. Okay, so that's the main idea. So the moral of the story: three important lessons from about price discrimination. First, this is a rational strategy for a profit maximizing monopolist. This is obtained because we are charging different prices to different consumers, then charging according to their willingness to pay. So I need to be smart enough to discover which is going to be the willing to pay for anyone. Second, it requires the ability to divide consumers by the ability of the willing to pay. So for example, sometimes you can think about location. So for example, our example I didn't say, but maybe because one of them they are in Australia and the other one they are in the US. Okay, so this one I can divide that, or maybe sometimes because of age or income. So like age children, they are not interested in order to pay that, so they will have a lower price. Okay, and retired people as well, and income. Okay, the same stuff. People with more income, naturally, they will pay more. So we suppose that there is no possible arbitrage. What's that? It means that you cannot buy to the US a price of five, or sorry, Australia maybe a 5, and then you return to the US and you can charge $20. So it's not possible to make that. So I need to make something that people cannot do that stuff. And the third one, price discrimination can raise economic welfare. So then the monopoly takes all the deadweight loss. There is no consumer plus, just producer surplus, consumer surplus here. So then this is so interesting because we are maybe in the same welfare situation of competitive market. Just like in competitive market it was split between two parties, here it just belongs to the producer. Then the analytics of price discrimination. So if we can assume that a monopolist discriminates perfectly, he knows each willingness to pay and charge this value to each consumer. Here is the story. Remember, demand, marginal revenue, and here we assume a marginal cost flat because equal to 0. Then here, what's the idea? You have this one is the deadweight loss, but the idea here is that with a single price you have marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. You charge this one, and the price minus this one. This is going to be exactly your profits, right? This is square. The other situation is the perfect price discrimination. I'm going to charge to each one the willingness to pay. So I'm going to capture all these consumer surplus, and all this big triangle is going to be the profit. Then going to the real life, you already notice that this is like kind of impossible. I mean, it's so hard to identify each one which is the real willingness to pay. So maybe for this reason we can just not identify obviously just one single consumer and the willingness to pay, but at least it can identify some groups with the willingness to pay. So for this reason they can charge. So the only certain conclusion that price discrimination raises the monopolist's profits. Okay, this is what the end of the day, the moral of the story. If maybe one person is going to buy something and I'm going to have some profit for that, I'm going to make efforts in order to receive that money, to have some benefits from this guy, from each single person. So we can think about example of price discrimination. So for example, movie tickets. So for example, you can think about Wednesdays, Monday here in Colombia, for example, Wednesday is kind of cheap. So the at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do with that is like people that they don't have money too much to pay for another for another day, they will pay for that. So definitely this could be kind of discrimination. Or maybe about children and senior citizens, so they have another price, another willingness to pay. Airline prices. So for example, this is a great stuff. For example, when you have different prices when you stay Saturday night, a business person most of the times will go, for example, Saturday during the day, and this person will return the same day at night. So this price is going to be larger or higher than one person that is a tourist. A tourist definitely should want this person want to stay more time in the place, so definitely they can stay more time and they will pay less for that. Even discount coupons. Maybe you can think that people that they go to the newspaper and they could the stuff. The other people, they are executives that they don't have money to, sorry, they don't have time to do that, so they pay the price, okay. But the other ones, they price lower because they just buy if they have a discount. So if I don't provide discount to that people or that group of people, they won't buy, and this is a problem because I have some money that I can earn from them, but I'm not going to do it. So I can make some way that I can offer a lower price to them. For example, even a financial aid in a good university. For example, some people they pay all the semester, all the year of the university, and there is another people that they have less money, so they need to have access to scholarships, to maybe another kind of plan of financial aid. Then we can think about how the public policy go towards monopoly. So the idea is like we already noticed that monopolies they produce less than desirable. So maybe we already know that they charge above market cost. So maybe the public policy, they can try to respond in four ways. So they say, okay, maybe we can try to make these monopolized industries more competitive, or maybe we can regulate the behavior of the monopolies, or maybe we can turn some private monopolies into public enterprises, or at the end of the day, doing nothing at all. Okay, so the first one, think about the make the monopolized markets made more competitive. This is what was because it was why was created the antitrust laws. Basically, imagine, for example, that there is a merge between Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Definitely, the market of the soda, of the sugar, these kind of beverages, this is gonna be definitely less competitive. So the idea is like these kind of antitrust laws, they try to avoid too much market power. When there is a limit, they say, hey, let's have a look here, watch out. Maybe it's not okay that you still concentrate more power in the market, so I'm going to do something. So this is a comprehensive charter of economic liberty aimed at preserving free and unfettered competition as the rule of trade. So then, for example, when actually this time the public policy had to be kind of smart, because sometimes the companies they don't merge just for having a higher market power. Sometimes when they merge, they reduce costs, and this is called synergies. And when there is a synergy, it maybe you need to think twice before before prohibiting that, because maybe it will at the end of the day it will have more benefits even for consumers because they will pay lower prices. Then they need to determine if the merge can be better for social welfare or not. The other one is regulation. So some natural monopolies, as electricity, water, they cannot charge the price they want. So for this reason, the regulation should be there, should put the eye there, and they think that the price, we can think like price equal to marginal cost, but maybe the point here is that because we're thinking about natural monopoly, remember that the main characteristic of that is the average total cost is declining. So then the graph is going to be something like that. This is going to be the average. total cost is going to be the demand, and this one is going to be the marginal cost, which is automatic, is almost flat. As we said, the toll, sorry, the bridge with the toll, so it doesn't matter if you need to provide to some more cars, you need to charge the same. So here the marginal cost is going to be this one exactly equal to the price. So that's the case of a competitive market, and this is going to be reflected to the average total cost. So this one cost is larger than the revenue, so therefore is going to be a loss. So for this reason, maybe it could be a problem if the government says, okay, you need to charge the price equal to the marginal cost. So then the idea is like maybe the government, they can make some intervention to improve losses. So then the monopolist receive subsidy. Maybe the point is like they don't try to reduce costs, and even it's going to be worse. Okay, then maybe that could be the problem. So maybe regulation in that case, maybe it is not the best solution, because maybe they don't work at the same like level as before, because they have already subsidy. So the other one is the public ownership. So maybe you can turn something that is private into public. For example, telephone, water, electricity, postal office. So then sometimes actually economists, we say that it may be sometimes it's better private natural monopoly, because they really want to minimize cost. Unfortunately, public natural monopoly, they don't care too much about cost. So for this reason, maybe they can be less efficient than the other one. And here is the deal: if there is a private scenario, imagine that you have the directors of this company, and they have losses. Then they will be fired, and they will find another people that they can really achieve the results with profits, and with cost, reasonable cost, and with making that profitable, instead of a public natural monopoly. Unfortunately, at that time, no one's going to fire them, and the losers we are going to be the customers and the taxpayers. Bad service, and the taxpayers, we are going to pay too much taxes for a service that is not well done. Then the last one is doing nothing. So maybe it's so hard to understand this one, but maybe sometime any movement from government side can produce drawbacks. Actually, there is an interesting Nobel Prize statement of Mr. George Stigler, that actually he says, okay, a famous theorem in economics states that a competitive enterprise economy will produce the largest possible income from a given stock of resources. So this is the idea of an enterprise. And then no real economy meets the exact condition of the theorem. And all real economies will fall short of the ideal economy. A difference called market failure, where all the resources they are not efficient one. Okay, as the externalities, as we saw in the previous chapters, as monopoly as this chapter. Here she says, in my view, however, the degree of market failure for the American economy is much smaller than the political failure, arising from the imperfection of economic policies found in real political systems. The idea is like the famous laissez-faire, laissez-passer, like just let it be, the market go that they do uh, that, and don't get into the market, because the result is going to be even worse. So for this reason, sometimes the solution is like doing nothing. Then the conclusion of all these videos, like the prevalence of monopolies, the idea like we already visualized about the verification of companies, that they have control over prices they charge, so they have a market power. And here is the table that summarizes everything. So competition and monopoly. So here we have goal of firms, both they want to maximize profits, which is the rule of maximizing. Marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. Can earn economic profits in the short run? Absolutely, both the same. The differences: number of firms, competition, many, just one. Marginal revenue is equal to price. This one, remember, is lower than price, because you have the demand, we have the marginal revenue. The price is equal to marginal cost. Here the price is higher than marginal cost. That produces well for maximizing level output? Yes, this is the efficient one. This is not efficient. This is lower quantities, higher price. Entry in the long run? Yes, you can entry in the long run competition. Monopoly is not. There are barriers to entry because otherwise they're not going to be just one. Then can earn economic profit in the long run? No, it's going to be exactly zero. And the monopoly, yes, they're going to still have uh, positive profits. And price discrimination is possible? No, because they don't have market power. Yes, they have. Okay, that was all this video. Thank you for having a look to that. See you to next video and have a great day, great night, great week, great weekend. Okay, bye bye.